Roosevelt is also from hospitality business. He's from Caesars, the Caesars Palace people, the palace in Vegas, not the one in Italy. And he's a senior IT manager, been working in IT space for over 3 decades. He's part of the quality assurance program for Caesars Entertainment, and there's a lot of interesting things that they do to try to make sure that people are having a great experience and that things work well for them. And it's, again, surprisingly a complex system. So with that, Roosevelt, I believe I will toss it over to you.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank Parasoft for inviting me here today to talk with you about how you can define and measure ROI for test automation. I'm not sure if you are aware or not, but back in July of this year, we merged with another company called ERI, or El Dorado. So now we're the largest casino operator in the United States. So with that comes a lot of integration work between the two companies because we're running different platforms and things of that nature. So I just wanted to kind of give you a flavor of all the various brands that are now under the Caesars umbrella. So being a hospitality organization, as you would imagine, that our guest experience is our #1 priority, right? We've been growing through acquisitions, and many of these applications have been developed over the years, right? So we do need to provide a common experience for our guests. So an example of that would be, now that we've acquired 20-something new properties, if I take my reward card and go to a slot machine, I would expect to be able to do that at any of those properties. So there's a great deal of integration work and testing that's required to provide our guests with a seamless experience. So what I wanted to do here is just kind of take you through our QA journey from a testing.
Roosevelt, just a quick interruption. We're still seeing you on the title slide.
On the title slide?
Yes.
What about now?
Yeah, I'm still just, maybe stop screen sharing and reshare.
Okay. You're still seeing my.
Okay, now we're on your title slide.
Really? You try that?
Okay, we're back at our thing. Guest experience is our #1 priority.
Okay, I don't know that. Yeah, technology, you gotta love it. Okay.
There we go. They need better testing. All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for calling that out.
Yeah, continue.
Yeah. So did you miss this slide altogether?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. So this is the slide I was talking about, the new brands and that we merged in July. We have quite a bit of integration work to do. And guest experience is our #1 priority. I kind of talked to this slide already, but again, automation is key to that experience. And so I think I was talking to this slide here. This is our QA journey slide. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, so back in 2014, we decided that we were going to develop a testing center of excellence. And so with that comes, okay, we're going to create this testing center of excellence. We also need a roadmap, right? And so over the years, this is kind of our roadmap. We started out with staff, staff org approach, right, to our internal resources. And we start in 2015, we're like, okay, let's start with standard reporting, standard templates, and things of that nature. 2016 is, okay, let's look at all the tools we have. Let's do consolidation and valuation and go for the best of breed as far as where we were concerned. 2017 and 18, hey, now we need to operate on a standard operating procedure. And then last year, we're like, okay, let's create our automation framework, right? And our automation framework is twofold. It's the back end and the front end. Front end, we call self-help. It's where our super users can go to an interface. They don't need to know anything about coding or anything. They just select what use cases they want to run, and off it goes from an automation perspective. And on the back end, we do the continuous integration, testing, as well as delivery. So this year in 2020, it was the year that we were supposed to engage with service virtualization. Unfortunately, being in a hospitality industry, COVID really put a damper on many of the initiatives that we had this year. So that's something that we'll be carrying over to 2021 and beyond. But when you look at continuous improvement is something that you do really all the time, right? It's just, you really have to look at what are you doing and how do we make it better? So this is an automation return on investment formula that we came up with. And I look at it from a cost avoidance perspective, right? Not cost savings. So if we look at manual time minus the automation time, minus the cost, the resource cost, and you subtract the cost to deliver, right? And what I mean by cost to deliver are your products that you're using, burden rates, and things of that nature. And so in this example here, what I'm showing is based on that formula. At the end of that formula, for one regression suite, we saved $1,250, right? That's if we run it one time. Well, you really don't necessarily want to do automation if you're only going to run it one time, of course, right? And so when you look at an annual automation, to take that $1,250 times the frequency in which you run, which is in this scenario is 52 weeks. So that's $65,000 year over year minus the cost to deliver. Software, hardware, your burden rate, whether you're calculating it monthly or annually. And so this is what I can take to my leadership to say, this is why we need to do automation, because ideally what I want to demonstrate is the cost to purchase products and the hardware and things of that nature is still outweighed by the cost avoidance that you're saving. I hope that makes sense to everyone. Okay. So again, if we look at our automation ROI, again, we started out in 2014, 450 hours, not a lot at all, but it's a stake in the ground. And as you can see, over the course of several years, we're at 20,000 plus hours in cost avoidance based on our automation regression. So if you multiply 20,000 hours times $50 an hour is what it would cost for a resource to do that. You're talking well over $1 million just in cost avoidance, or you would have to pay that if someone did the testing manually. Some key considerations, leadership support. You definitely need leadership buy-in. It's definitely a culture change when you start talking about automation, because sometimes it scares people. You need to be able to quantify your return on investment. Definitely need strong alignment with resources In some instances, you may not have the bandwidth internally to do an initiative, as well as tools. And don't forget the script maintenance. And so I want to talk to you about a couple of these in detail that we experienced. So we had a product and we wanted to get into service virtualization. So we had a vendor come out and we gave them a use case. And after we developed that use case and we wanted to run the virtualization, it failed. And then that particular vendor said, well, you're going to have to pay us to tell you why our product is failing. And I was like, sure, okay. And then I started looking for other vendors. And I came across Parasoft. So Parasoft came in, they ran the same use case, and guess what? They had the same problem. But the difference was, within 30 minutes, their development team had a hot fix. And we were on our way and we had a successful proof of concept for service virtualization. So not only you need a strong product, but you also need a vendor with strong support. One other thing I'd like to add is when you look at your regression suite, you shouldn't necessarily be trying to capture your return on investment manually, right? And so within our regression suites, at the end of the regression run, it calls an API and it passes specific parameters, which are then updated in a database. So now we have a front end on the database where we can say, what's our ROI today, monthly, quarterly, yearly? Just a tip for those people that are just starting out with automation. And so when I look at any new initiative, the first thing I look at is how much of this can we automate? So again, having the right technology makes all the world in the difference. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Roosevelt. So,
That was quick.
Yeah, you bring up an interesting point. If you want to turn your camera on for QA, that'd be fun. You talk about similar to the way I feel like the first question is, what can I automate, right? And I like that you've taken that one further here, which is, and what's the value of this automation to me? Which I think is, really interesting. I was curious, like, how much the effort that you put into figuring out the value, and as you just mentioned, like making it happen automatically, like you're collecting the data constantly. How much has that helped you in terms of getting business to, buy into what you're trying to do?
Well, you don't want to spend a lot of time doing it manually because you'll have inconsistencies, but it allows us to be able to quickly provide leadership stats on where we are from an automation perspective and the cost avoidance, right?
Yeah, and I think that's just a piece people sometimes forget about. In the effort to automate, they forget about capturing the value in a way that is organic and automated as well. One of the questions came in, I think you kind of answered it, but I'll just ask it in case they didn't get it answered, was, did you account for the time to create and maintain scripts, or is this just the straight execution time comparisons?
This is just straight, this is your baseline, right? Because if you need to maintain the scripts and their changes, that's going to be captured once again. So that baseline will be redefined to incorporate that change.
Excellent. The next one, what tools can we use for API testing?
For API?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we use Parasoft SOA tests. And the beauty of that is, I don't know if you guys do performance load testing, but if you use SOA tests, those same scripts can be then used for performance and load testing with minimum changes. So you don't need to have yet another product to do that. And that's what I love about it.
Yeah, it helps keep that value statement high. There's one here about traceability of requirements and tests to track coverage. Which tools were used for your traceability?
So you have a number of tools. It depends on the methodology that you're using. So you can use ALM, which is typically waterfallish, or you can use Rally, Jira. We use Jira, and we're moving to something called Q-Test to allow us to do the coverage, test coverage.
And a related question was, were there other KPIs that you used in measuring and calculating here?
Excuse me, measuring and calculating what?
To get your values and costs and things, were there other KPIs that you're using?
Now, this is just straight from a, I'm not going to say from a QA perspective, but straight from just an automation perspective.
All right. Well, that was some really great stuff, Roosevelt. If did one more question come in? It looks like there's a half a question regarding QA metrics. Oh, I see. What KPIs for your QA metrics? Like, how are you measuring your QA?
How we're measuring this out successfully. So we have KPIs and we have SLAs, right, for our QA department, as well as customer survey feedback and things. That's a great question. Feedback and things of that nature. But we have a set of KPIs and SLAs that we have to meet or that we're measured on. Okay, and there's a laundry list of them, and they can change quarterly.
And
yes.
One of the things, and you and I discussed this before, but you mentioned that you're in the midst of merging two pretty large, complex systems.
Yes.
And I'm curious to hear how the efforts that you've done in automation are affected by it or affect it themselves.
So
are you happy that you did all this, or you wish you'd started later or earlier? Or?
No, I mean, because I think we are in a great position to be able to support that initiative as it relates to integrating the two companies. And again, we're integrating at the service level for the most part. And then, you always need to look at this company A has this application, company B, this product, we use this product, which one's a better product? And, those discussions happen as well. But like the example I gave you with putting a rewards card in, any slot machine at any property, that needs to work. That's the customer experience, right? And so that's a lot of, middleware messaging kind of testing that needs to occur.
Yeah. Mergers bring a lot of effort with them, and so it's interesting to me to think about how having good automation, good testing in place helps, make sure that that's going to be successful.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, well, Roosevelt, we appreciate it, and we'll go ahead and move on to the next one now.
All righty, thank you.
Thanks, Roosevelt.